Yo, what's going on, y'all? My name is Steve Holmes, and you watched another episode of The Real. Thank you all for joining me tonight on what I think is going to be a really good episode. We've got some news out of Bethune-Cookman University, and it's big news, probably the biggest news we've had since. And I think it's imperative that we talk about it tonight. And I know some people have already, contacted me to see if I had any intel and this types of stuff on the candidates. I'll be honest, I don't have any knowledge of any of them, but somebody who does, and I don't know what he can tell us, but Mr. John Crossman will be joining us tonight. He has been the person who has oversaw the whole presidential search, and it'll be good to get with him tonight and talk to him about the candidates. And so I know they will be looking to do interviews and on-campus visits and all these things coming up really soon, I believe in the next week or so. So, and if you guys give me 1 second, I think Mr. Crossman is sending me a text right now. So let me just make sure we're all good to go, and then we'll get with some news. Give me 1 second, y'all. I'm just want to make sure I give the info to Mr. Crossman, because he's going to be joining us shortly. And I just want to make sure he can get in. So thank you guys. This is nerve-wracking doing this live. All right. Done. All right. Sorry, y'all. So back to the show. Again, thank you all for joining me. All right, so before we get into the nitty-gritty, we talk about the presidential search. I know that's why y'all are here, but per usual, I got to get right to it. The people who I appreciate the most, my MVPs, the real MVPs, Gerard, Kathy, Will, Donovan, Breon, Derek, Lenitra, Sharon, Adrian, Wanda, Jason, Theron, Marcy, Rod Z, y'all know Rod Z, and CJ Mack. That's the name that they sent in Cash App, so I don't know the full name. But listen, people, thank y'all. These are the people who I like to highlight every week, who through the month of April have, found it not robbery to donate to the show. And for those of you that are watching tonight, please, if you find it in your heart, there's our Cash App there at the bottom. Again, as I say every week, it takes some overhead to do the show every week, and so and we are trying to grow. We're scaling, but you guys help me do that, and so your contributions help me update equipment, helps me pay for the subscriptions. It helps me, do a bunch of things. But I do have something special that I want to do. For anyone who's interested, you guys know we have released. Let me get this off the screen. We've released our new love tea, and this will be a great listen. I think graduation is in a week, and so this is a great gift for graduates. It's a great gift for an alumni, but. If you would like to purchase a shirt, even if maybe you don't like the shirt. But if you want to purchase the shirt and donate it to a student or a grad, you can do so by, just donating to our Cash App. It'll be up on the screen again. The shirts are $35. They're fully licensed, so the school gets their cut. They get their royalty from it, and then the rest of it goes back into our platform, which is the AV. And so if you want to purchase it, if you like the shirt, here it is. The link is on my Instagram, and I'll try to put it in the comments later on at some point if we have some time. What's up, Lucretia? Good to see you. Thank you for joining. So yeah, that's that. And so let's get to a couple of news things. If you guys have been following the pages, you guys know that this just came out of nowhere, right? James Patterson, the famous big time best-selling author, gave Bethune-Cookman some money. Like, that's crazy, right? Like, I didn't even know he knew about who we were. And so I think it's amazing that we have people like that that are willing to donate their money, their proceeds from their work. I'm pretty sure Mr. Patterson is well off. Again, this is the guy that did the Alex Cross books and then the series that came on Netflix and a bunch of other big time books and movies. Along Came a Spider and a couple of other ones, man. So the guy is the guy's great. So thank you to Mr. Patterson. Oh, yo, and I didn't even, I want to do a screenshot. He actually liked one of this announcement that was on Facebook. He actually liked it. So I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. So yeah, and speaking of money, we're not done yet. Earlier in the week, Bethune-Cookman got a big grant from the NBA, which is amazing. And again, I think it's starting to show that people are recognizing the school again for its stability, and this and to be fair, the school has been getting some checks written to it over the last, I would say, year or so. So that has been a great thing. But this money is going towards a really great cause, specifically to help young black men get to school and get through school. So this is, I believe this money is going to be set aside to help educate our young black men, because if, as y'all know, there is we've got a little bit of an issue with our young brothers going to college, and our sisters are outpacing us academically. And so I believe the NBA is trying to do what they can to help, push that forward. So that's amazing. And Mr. Crossman, I think he told me, he says he's on. If you're on, I don't see you in my waiting room. So, Mr. Crossman, you may want to try it again. We'll keep moving. All right. So I got something I want to talk to you guys about. Something that happened today, a couple hours before the show. It happened yesterday, but a couple hours before the show. And Sean Higgins, I'm just going to read it. And this is a picture of Dr. Bthoons House. All right. And it says, look at the Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune Foundation. The photo is the foundation covered with a blue tint. Termites may have destroyed her. It may be time for the university to let the national parks take her maintenance. It's already a historic landmark, but the university has neglected its maintenance for far too long. This is sad and shameful that this historic site may be gone because of a few people, which I saw that and immediately was a little bit taken aback. I'm like, well, we've been known to take care of the house, and obviously it takes a lot of money to maintain her property because it's so old, and like that's not something I think the school takes lightly. I didn't think anything of it. I was going to do my due diligence and ask around anyways, but it all kind of happened so fast. So fast forward a little bit, and to the rescue, our own Mr. Derek Feature. And he's a part, if you guys know Derek, he was on our show a couple of weeks ago, and he talked to us about some things, and I saw his post and I was like, okay, let me read this. And it says, after seeing the post the other day, I campus today as well and contacted the dean of the library. I was advised that the recent tarping for 2 days was the final process before the home is reopened to the public. Now that restoration is complete, a reopening will be scheduled this summer. So let's pause there for a second. I think it's a little bit unfortunate that we will run with narratives and we will make our narratives about things, and we don't have all the information. Now, Sean Higgins, I'm sure he meant well, and I don't want nobody to run and say anything negative to him. I just think maybe he just thought something that wasn't true, but he wasn't the only one. There was another person. I don't have his post up, but there were at least two people that immediately thought the absolute worst when it came to the tarp over the house. And I get it how that might look out of place. But listen, y'all, we don't do ourselves any favors by running and making up narratives about things we know nothing about. And so I think before we jump out on the internet, before we, go and get Twitter fingers, like, get the information first. Get the information first. And I'll slap myself on the wrist too, because I was going to talk about it as if something was wrong, but I was going to ask a question like, who can tell us about why the condition of the house is in the way it is? So again, I just think it's very important, y'all, that we do ourselves some service and research things that we post about. Again, a lot don't care who tell it. You know what I'm saying? So I just think it's important that we do those things and we're being fair to the school, because that story about the house that Sean Higgins posted, like, that'll travel way faster than what Derek Feature posted. And what these are pictures that are actually from today, and the house is going to be reopened so people can visit, and that's a big deal. You know what I'm saying? So, all right, well, y'all, I think I can jump into the news of the day. And if you guys have been paying attention, we've got 3 finalists for our president. And before I bring Mr. Crossman on, and you guys, please do me a favor, the people that are watching and tuning in, if you have questions, comments that you would like for me to ask Mr. Crossman while we're talking, I call him Mr. Crossman out of respect, but he tells me to call him John, but that's just, I'm sorry, it's a respect thing. If you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. And again, I'll cherry pick the questions. If I feel like they're fair questions, I'll ask. If I think they're off base or maybe not on topic, then we'll just keep on with the ones that are on topic. And so that's just, I want to make sure we have the most time to talk about what's going on right now, because it's important. And I know you all have thoughts. I know you all have opinions about all the people you've heard, and it's especially up to this point, because if you remember, we started with 135 candidates, and we're down to 3. And so I think it's a big deal that we do our thing and do our due diligence, ask our questions, we do our research. We can't let just the board and the search committee and the Myers group, we can't let them do all the work. Like, we got to do our work too. We need to be looking into these candidates and doing our own research as alumni. All right. So I think Mr. Crossman is in, so let's go ahead and pull him on. What's going on?
Hello, my friend. How are you?
I am well. Thank you for joining tonight. It's a big deal. And I know this has kind of been the day that you guys have been waiting to get to. We get to a point, we've got three candidates, and tell me, how was it like getting from that big mound of applications to where we are today?
So, first off, thank you, Mr. Holmes. Your show has been quoted and quoted and quoted again. One of the most common heard from candidates when they did their research, they watched your show. We had candidates that quoted the students that were on your show. We heard it over and over again, and I spoke with all 3 candidates today, and 2 of them referenced your show, and the third one I sent links to your show. So You've done an excellent job. It's created a forum that candidates were able to learn more about BCU and alums and questions and comments. So you have played a really critical role in this. So I thank you for that very much so.
I appreciate all you guys are doing. I'm just a mere vessel. Yeah.
Well, I have one issue off topic I'm going to mention
Okay.
real quick, if you give me a minute, and that is my birthday is coming up. My birthday is on May 11th. It's on Mother's Day this year. I do not want any cards. I do not want any presents. I want people to donate to Bethune-Cookman University. That's how I want to celebrate my birthday on Mother's Day this year. If they want to specifically give to something, I have a scholarship in honor of my mother, and I will send you a link to it if you care to choose that, promote that. But you listen, of all the things we need to keep doing in addition to the search is donate, promote, support our students, support our faculty, support our staff, and find ways to help them out. So I just want to say that real quick if you don't mind. So I'll send you a link on that.
Cool.
As far as the search process, there's a lot of things I'm really proud of. In addition to you and the great work that you did, the alumni just played an outstanding role in this. 135 candidates is that'd be huge for Ohio State or University of Michigan or, Florida. That's a big deal. And if people say, why did it happen? It's because alumni across the country being part of this process. That's a big deal. I'm really proud of the committee. Derek Feature, you mentioned him. We had multiple alums on there. We had 2 faculty members on there. We had a handful of trustees on there. And so we had really good leadership there that really helped out. And you know what else? We have run a transparent, inclusive process. You've been a big part of that. Alumni, I just spoke at the Orlando alumni event last week. And we did those listening meetings, sessions, and we got a lot of feedback. You can run an open, transparent process. And then the other thing is that, I said in the beginning, the goal was to present 3 candidates. We are not, as a committee, endorsing one. We're endorsing all 3. So all 3 go to the board of trustees. We're going to have this next round where they come to campus, and we'll do another open process where faculty and alum and people get to meet them. We'll work hard to make sure we can do Zoom sessions and things like that. I appreciate you making the comment on due diligence. Absolutely. And so it's an open process. I will say with that open process, let's be good host. Let's be good host. Okay. I'll tell you something. One of my daughters has a friend who's a boy, and I'm about this. And so at some point, I'm sure that young man will want to come to my house, and it's natural to not be suspect of that.
Hello.
I'm teasing a little bit, but no matter if I like him or not, he's a guest in my home, and I treat him respectfully, right? So look, our candidates are endorsed by the committee, and of course, some committee members might like one more than another. You might like a candidate more than another, but when they come to our campus, they're guests in our home, and we need to pray for them and be kind to them. And to the 2 that don't get it, don't we want them to tell the world how wonderful hosts we were? Don't we want them to tell the world to be fans of who we are?
Yep.
Don't want them to feel like, hey, they would, if somebody called them and later on and said, hey, I'm interviewing at a job at BCU, that they would say, oh, what a wonderful place to work. I wish I was working there. So let's keep taking this process very professionally and sincerely and kindly. And I think that's also a big deal.
Yeah. So, and maybe I missed it as far as you talked about the process, but what about today is what May 1st? When are you expecting everybody on campus, or will that be each one on campus on a different day?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you a little inside story, if you don't mind. We met as a committee on Monday, and the goal on Monday was to get to the final 3. And when we met Monday, we weren't ready. It just was not clicking. It didn't feel peaceful. And I told you, and I told everybody through this process, we're going to move quickly, but if we need to pause, we're going to pause. And we did. We paused on Monday, and I gave the committee 48 hours to kind of think about it. We came back together last night, and when we got back together last night, we felt a sense of peace about those top 3 candidates. And then, of course, today I needed to talk to each one of them individually, get some things taken care of. And so that finally got wrapped up today at I'm not kidding you, 3:45. Mm-hmm. And so we had the press release ready because it was really important to us that it get out. I texted you. I texted numerous, key people that were constituents to say, let them know. And then here I am. Now, as far as the next steps, we have a host committee. I've asked two gentlemen to be co-host of that committee, and they are Derek Feature is one. The other one is Bishop Triplett, and they're both locals involved in the committee. And then they were on the search committee, and so they're the bridge to the host committee. I've asked Vice President Paramore to be a co-chair or a vice chair, and then a series of new people, students, faculty, alums who are not on the search committee, to also be on the host committee, and their job will be able to set that up. I had hoped that it would get done next week. It probably won't,
Right.
but they'll be up next, and you can have Feature and Triplet back on the show if you want to. But their job now is to move into this next phase.
Yeah, and so I think it's important for the alumni to know, with respect to the process. I think there were 12 or 13 committee members for the
16,
search committee.
16 on the search.
16. And so I know it consisted of like 5 or 6 alumni. There was 2
Correct.
students, 2 faculty members. So more than half of the committee are maroon and gold blooded individuals, people that have direct ties to the institution. So, and these are the people who we've entrusted to handle placing a president in office. So I think it's incumbent upon us, to be fair to the process.
Mm-hmm.
And I know sometimes, again, and I made the comments last week that I think we don't all, some people may not have gotten their person or their guy or their gal in the position. But again, if we're trusting the process, if we're trusting the people that we call our fellow alumni, and we're trusting the students and we're trusting the faculty to do what's best for the institution, then I think we got to trust the process. So I just wanted to make that quick comment
Can
about,
I,
yeah.
yeah, let me just say something there too to make sure you hear me say this. When we went from 135 to 14, it was a 16-0 vote in favor of that. When we got to the final three, it was a 16-0 vote. It was unanimous both times. Now, to get to both those spaces was a lot of robust debate. And to get from the 14 to 3, um, every single one of them was interviewed. They were all asked the same 10 questions. And then we did a rubric. So all 16 committee members had to go back, watch all the videos, or if they saw it live, and then answer the same 10 questions, same ranking, and they came out with a numbered system. And then beyond that, we did all the research. I told you we did research, Myers-Briggs, Dr. Silver. They researched the candidates. They brought back feedback. So we had data. We had all the interviews. So it was a strong, vested process. And as you might imagine, there were candidates I was really excited about, and then something would come up, and it didn't feel like the best match. Really good people, but we ended up, I think, with a really strong group.
Yeah, and so speak of the candidates. I've got this screen here, and just so people can put a face to the names that they'll likely be seeing a lot of over the next couple of days. So we have Dr. Albert D. Mosley. He is the current president at Morningside University. I believe it is in Sioux Falls, Iowa.
Iowa, correct?
And then Dr. Sharonda R. Gibbs, who's the Dean and Professor in Division of Business and Economics at Morehouse. And then Dr. Tandranika Coleman Farrell, who's the VP and Academic Affairs and Chief Academic Officer. That is a long title at Palm Beach State University. And so one of these people in a few weeks will be our person. And, I think it's an exciting time. Let me do this to the people that are watching. This is not, we won't be doing any endorsements. We won't, we're not
We
trying to
endorse them all.
sway.
We endorse them all. They're all endorsed.
Yeah. they're all endorsed. They're gonna go through the proper. So I don't want you to think that you're gonna hear good or bad about either candidate from me or Mr. Crossman tonight, because that just wouldn't be fair. And be honest, I don't know either one of them. So, but hopefully over the coming weeks we know a lot more about them, and I think hopefully people will feel comfortable. What can you tell us about this slate of candidates?
Sure. Well, first off, I'm telling you that these three are exceptional. Any one of these three to become president, I would be thrilled. But I also want you to know that the fourth, the fifth, the seventh, the eighth, the ninth, I mean, going into that 14, they were all amazing. And candidates that I talked to that didn't make it, I told them it's not that you lost, it's that it was just really, really competitive. So they need to know that. What I like about this group is they're all exceptional. They're all amazing people. I told every single one of them today that they should be thanking their parents. That whoever poured into these three individuals, they did a super job, because every one of them are just amazing, making the world a better place.
Right.
They are different, right? And so I told you then back at the beginning that I wanted our committee to make the job of the trustees very difficult. And I think we have, and I hope we have, that they have to have robust debate, and I think they will. When you look at Dr. Mosley, he's a president of a university. That in itself, the role, the responsibility, understand that's very impressive. You go over to Dr. Gibbs. Dr. Gibbs is at an HBCU, a very well respected historic HBCU. There is that perspective. And then we have Dr. Coleman Farrell, who's coming from the state side of things in our state in Florida, and that's a different set of skills. And she, her parents are VCU alums, and so she has that connection directly as well.
Wow.
So it is three A+++, extra credit candidates who are different, and they bring different perspective, different skill sets. And so again, it's not that there's one that is, I think, better than the other. They're different, and so the trustees have to say which one is the best match and which one can help fulfill the legacy of Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune.
All right. What actually I'm gonna do this. Adrian Yancey in the chat has a question, and he says, "What would you want to learn in the upcoming interviews that would help you decide if someone was right for the job?"
So they're already exceptional. Okay, so let's start with that. So now I would want to know more specifics. So I would want to say, what is your specific plan for fundraising? So if they were to say, oh, I'm going to work with the Office of Advancement, that's not what I want to hear. I would want to hear, here are the 5 specific things I'm going to do. I would want to hear them say, what are you going to do for students? And they're going to say, I've done this research, watched Steve Holmes show. It sounds like these things. These are specific things. So we know they're qualified. We know these. We know big picture. I'm looking for more meat and more specifics that I can really lean into, like the state of Florida and our population and our diversity, and specifically Daytona. What can we do to connect with the community? How can we get better, right? And so that's what I would want to hear.
And to that answer, are each of the presidents, do they have to, obviously I know they have to like interview, but is there some type of 3-year, 5-year, 10-year plan that they are required to come in and present, ahead of time? Have they already done that? Like, is that?
No, well, no. They certainly will need to present their vision, what they believe the vision to be, and then whoever gets that will need to then formulate that. And,
Gotcha.
and by the way, and then we need to rally behind them. We need to rally
Sure.
around them, right? And I listen, for me, for one, I want to be in a behind the scenes support role, whatever they need. I want them to create their vision, and then whatever that is, then where can I plug? And if it's sweeping the floor, that's what I'm going to do. Whatever they need me to do as a supporter and a fan, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, because as we all know, that has not been happening in the past with our presidents. And I think part of the reason, why we went through the leadership that we did is because those lines between the job of the board and the job of the president felt like they became a little blurred. And so I think especially for me, I think one of the most important things I'm going to be looking for, and I'm only speaking for me, one of the things I'm going to be looking for is how healthy the relationship is between the president and the board.
Mhm.
Because if that ends up still being a big problem, then I'll be honest, I feel like we'll find ourselves back here in a couple of years. So I just I think I speak for a lot of alumni with, like, I think everybody is hoping for the best with the next president and hoping that whoever that person is we hire, like they've got the when we were interviewing Mr. Wells, he said that person is going to have some real thick, tough skin to do the job at Bethune-Cookman. I don't think he was lying when he said that. And so again, I think everybody's going to be looking at very closely at the relationship between the board and the president, and can they work together for common good.
So let's talk about that a little bit. First off, one of the greatest volunteer jobs I've ever had in my whole life was when I was on the board of trustees for Valencia College. It was so great because Sandy Shugart was our president, and we were the number one ranked community college in America. I mean, you go to the trustee meetings and you're like, what am I even doing here? The college is just crushing it, right? So I had been in a role being a trustee at a great college at a great time with a great president. I would imagine when Bronson was president, it was probably a pretty easy role to be trustee in a way, right? Because like you got great leadership. So when there's great leadership, being a trustee, it's a better place to be. Okay, so let me start with that. The other thing, and I want to touch on this real quick to make this point. Remember when I talked about the committee, right? And then we talked about Myers McRae, and we talked about Dr. Silver, right?
Mm-hmm.
And remember that when we built this committee, the chair and vice chair, who are exceptional leaders and BC alums, were not on the committee. Now, how many times did they call me and give me direction about what I was doing? Did not happen at all. They had new influence that none. And so when I called them and said, here are the candidates, they're writing their names down, right? Because they're learning about it, right? So I was empowered with this group. Now, when I mentioned you the host committee and I mentioned the two Derek's that are leading it,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not on the host committee. I didn't. So I could have said, okay, I'm going to keep going. I'm backing out. I'm putting two other leaders in place. I'm here if anybody needs me, but I want two different people running that. And I want different students on that committee. I want different alumni on that committee. I want different faculty, staff on that committee. So then if you break this up and you look at the trustees, the host committee, the search committee, man, all of a sudden we're talking about 30 plus 40 people that are involved. They're all getting involved. And I told the candidates today, I'm here. I told each of them today that if something rough happens, harsh happens, whatever, you call me and I will be there for you. That said, I need to be in the background. There's other people you need to be talking to from this point. I'm available. We're trying to build it out. And then
Right.
finally, with those trustees, real quick, we got two new trustees coming up. I know both. They are ridiculous. They're so impressive. Our board of trustees, the vast majority are united. They're supportive. They're helpful. They're very, very good people. And I hope you get almost all of them on your show. Real honestly, you're going to enjoy them. We are in a much better place.
I believe you there. I, I just think most people want to see. They just want to. I think want to see it. Yeah, I think they want to see it. They want to see a
Yeah,
strong
me too.
administration. They want to see a strong board. They don't. They want to have a few years without any dysfunctional stories from anything up top. Right? You can deal
Right.
with the kids doing stuff and getting in trouble because that's just the nature of what it is. But when we got stuff at the top happening, it just really makes it. It just makes for a really crappy thing. So I've got another question.
Sure.
This is from I don't know if I'm saying your name wrong. Right, my man, Jarrell Roll. He says, when the candidate starts in the role, will the president have a consultant slash special advisor to help him adjust to the university's climate and expectations?
So the question was, is that when they start, will they have a special client consultant that will help them in
Yeah, like
transition?
advisor or something. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. The answer is if they want to, for sure. Keep in mind, Myers McRae is their job is not done until the new president is inked. Like it's not done. Like they don't get paid until the new president is signed, right? So
Right.
they've made zero fee, and they won't get a penny until it gets signed. So Myers McRae is available to do all kinds of things all the way. So they're available. Dr. Silver is the team. Remember that? Like he's still on retainer. So both of them are available to help, and certainly all the different trustees, all these people will help. If they get in and they want to retain, I mean, they're the boss, right? So if they want to bring in consultants to help them, they certainly can do that, and I'm sure they're all thinking about that. I want to say something else. I just want to say this before I forget, Stephen. Is let's just pause for a second and think about the weight of living out the legacy of Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune.
Oh,
Just
sure.
like
Sure.
the weight of that for any one person is unbelievable, right? And so the weight of that for all of us is huge. So this person is our leader, and we need to make sure we bring all the support around this person, and so that we share in living out that legacy.
I agree. No one will ever be able to fill those shoes. I think Dr. Bronson was pretty close, but no
Mm-hmm.
one has come close to filling the shoes of our founder, and I think that is the aim that I think we all hope our presidents strive for, is to have that kind of effect on the institution and the legacy. And so, and not to talk about like me or anything, but when I hear about the Av and the show being, brought up in meetings, I feel the weight of Dr. Bethune's legacy and, being a part of it. And that's why, again, I consider this a labor of love. Like the founder um, built an institution with pennies, right? And so that's always been inspirational to me. That's why it's been so frustrating to watch the past 8 years, because it's like we don't
We're not
have
living
to
legacy.
suck like
Yeah.
we've been sucking.
Well, you know what? You know what's a good way to maybe think about an analogy would be is like think about Disney. Like Walt Disney founded it. But when you walk down Main Street, next time you go to the Magic Kingdom, you want to Main Street, look up and look at those sort of fake windows on top, and one of the names you'll see Roy Disney. The next name over you'll see is Al Weiss, and not everybody know Al Weiss's name, but Al Weiss opened up Disney in China. Al Weiss created Disney Cruise Lines. Like what Disney was when the founder was there was something.
Right.
But further along, great leaders. It's like Sam Walton started Walmart, but Walmart, the superstore, and these bigger things were formulated later on.
Hmm.
So we need to embrace that legacy and go further, go
Yeah.
further.
Yeah. I think that's what us alumni are looking for. Like that next president that's gonna carry us into like the next chapter, the next frontier of the institution. Because let me tell you something. I don't think, and maybe I'll knock on wood or do something, but I don't know that it can get any worse than it was. So it's like we can only look forward now. We can only look for things to improve, and I hope the optimism I feel that I'm hearing. I keep my ears to the ground, so I'm talking to people, and most of the people feel pretty optimistic about the institution, much more than they did even 4 or 5 months ago. So I think that's going to be great for whoever gets in that position. That I think they're going to get a lot of people, and plenty of people have sat on the sidelines because there is no leader at the helm, which I
Right.
don't I don't always agree with that, but I understand it given the past. So I'm just interested to see how much the alumni, the students, the community, and stakeholders are galvanized. Once we've got somebody in place.
Listen, why did 135 people apply? applying is not just putting your name on a list. You had to apply. You had to put in references. 135 people. Why?
Yep.
Because they see something. They see something. It's there. There's greatness here. I always think about, I may have mentioned this for you, it's like in the future, why wouldn't a U.S. presidential debate be hosted at Bethune-Cookman University? Ole Miss hosted one. Why couldn't we host one,
Right.
right? Why are we not seeing the greatest Christian pastors, leaders in America come and guest preach, right? What I could keep going on and on, but you pick any category of the core parts of our society, Bethune Cookman needs to be in the center of that conversation and should be. And I think that when you're feeling frustrated, and you're right to feel frustrated, is that you can see a gap from this university's condition and its potential,
Right.
right? That's what you're feeling. You're like, wait, we're here, but you and I both know it could be here or here, right? I mean, why isn't Oprah Winfrey guest lecturing? And we talk about Kerry Washington. Why isn't Kerry Washington? It was like I can keep going and going and going, and that we have that potential. I think these three candidates see it. I think that's why they're coming at this so hard. I think that's why they're so excited.
Uh, I don't know if I'm asking this right. So there's the three candidates, and obviously there is the remaining 11. Was the three that you all arrived at, was that just based on like a scoring rubric, or was it a vote,
Oh,
or
it was all the above. It was all the above.
okay.
It was absolutely a rubric with numbers. Okay, there was that component to it. There was obviously a deep discussion from every possible angle you can think of, um, and then there was other things about making sure it's a match, who can best fulfill the legacy, right? And also being thoughtful of like not being three candidates that are the exact same thing, but they're different. These candidates were our top three pick. Now I will tell you, I opened it up. I said, do we want to have four? Do we want to have five? Right? It's okay. We can discuss this. Do we want to have more? And what happened was we ended up with the three that all 16 of us felt peace about. There were other candidates we really loved. We saw great potential, and truly we hope they have great careers. It's just there was some that there was a question mark or an issue that there was a little unreadiness,
Yeah.
right? For whatever reason. And again, there's not anything wrong with them. Just there was a these three were the three that we had peace about, and that
T-
was key for me.
to your point, and I just want y'all to know, and you can do this for yourselves. I suggest everybody, alumni, students, if you're watching, whomever, if you have any interest in the next president, as soon as I saw the list that the school posted on Facebook, I looked at the names. First thing I did was I went to Google. I said, let me see what pops up, because that was going to tell me a whole lot. Uh, Most of with people that have titles and they're in positions of leadership, if they done anything, the internet will not tell a lie, right? It will not tell a lie. It'll tell on you very quickly. So the first thing I did, I said, all right, let me see how solid these people are. And to my surprise, all of them, at least I went 3 pages deep on each candidate just to see what I could find. And neither one of them had, I mean, it's so much as a blemish publicly. So maybe there's a person that you heard through the grapevine that was a candidate. I don't know. And maybe they're not here today. And maybe because there's some stuff that popped up on their background. There's just so many things to that I think we got to consider when we're trying to find the right person. And again, it's it's imperative that we find the right person and that we don't go through this again for a long time. So again, it's very refreshing to search a prominent person's name on Google, three of them to be correct, and none of them have issues behind their names, which I found that pretty refreshing. So
I appreciate that. Listen, I will tell you, there was a candidate that did not make the final that I have a personal connection to, somebody I really, really care about and really respect. And I stayed away from that because I wanted this to kind of come together in the way it needed to did, and it did. And so as a human, I was sad, in a way. At the same time, I know we got the right three. And so I express empathy if somebody out there was like, oh my gosh, I would love to see so and so. Man, I get it. I really do.
Hmm.
Right. At the same time, you got to understand what is our need now, the process and the system. I think people can be very confident. We ran a transparent process. We ran an accessible process. We ran an intentional process, and it was a fair process, right?
Yeah.
Can never be perfect, but boy, we worked as hard as it possibly could, and it certainly, I think we all agree, was better than the last time in the sense that for a lot of different ways. And
Yeah.
honestly, I have had communications where people have said, they want to use the model of what we're doing here in other places, and that makes me feel good, right?
Yeah, you guys have done a good job. The one comment that I think, even if maybe there are people that aren't happy with the slate, most of the people have been happy with the process. And at the end of the day, as long as it was fair, as long as the committee members, everybody did their due diligence, I think everybody's going to feel good about the outcome. And so I think that's the general sentiments I get from people that I talk to. But I have a question, kind of a big question.
Please.
We're going to have a president within few weeks or so, month, soon. What is the number one item on the checkbox that you all as a board will be looking at for the president to do? Like, Trump's got his like first 100 days. Like what are you looking to see from the president, yeah, in his first 100 days,
So
or her?
you're
Excuse me.
yeah, you're asking me that question not as the committee chair. Are you asking me that as a trustee member? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yes.
So just because sometimes people transition that. So first off, remember my role on the board of trustees is chaplain, and so I keep all these people in prayer. I'm not the chair, so I'm not. I don't feel great answering that in the context of the leader of it. I will
Fair
again just
point.
say this, John, as a trustee member, not as the leader, because the leader is Pete Gamble, and he would need to be representing the board. Is that okay?
That's
So I'll
okay.
answer. I'm saying this is from John, not from
And it can be in a very general. It doesn't have to be specifics, a 5-10 point plan. But for you, John Crossman, what would
me.
you like to see from the president in his first few months on the job?
So, obviously, some clear things like a strategic plan, the fundraising, absolutely key. I think that there's the one of the things that for me I'd like to see is the empowerment and development of other leaders. That's a big deal to me because, for example, look at our community leaders. We have a lot of community leaders in Daytona and Volusia County. I think a lot of them could be more engaged, right? The president can't do it all, but they need to make sure that there's somebody that's doing that. Making sure that somebody's engaged with the students. The students have a voice and they're engaged. The staff, which is different than the faculty. The staff really feeling like that voice. The faculty have a voice. The alumni, and then other key stakeholders, right? So it could be governmental at every level of government, really key, and then business leaders. Like hey, there's people like me out here who are supporters and involved. So what I want to understand is how are they going to do that beyond themselves? So it's empowerment, it's leadership development, leadership training, and putting them out there. We need a university that's not just one person, but a lot of significant dynamic leaders. And you know what? We already have a bunch. I get a sense that some of them have never been allowed to fully be who they are. You know, this process, part of it's gone well because I was allowed to be who I am. You're doing a great job in your show because you're allowed to be who you are. We need a leader in this role who then can allow all the other key leaders to develop and be who they are, right? And
Yeah.
and that's a big thing for me.
Sure. And I think I agree with that. With respect to, and I guess it's just a general question that I have. I'm sure other people have the same question too. with respect to a president's cabinet, when he or she gets the job, I assume they get to go in and place their people in their cabinet. So my question to you is, how do we ensure that we don't have another situation like what happened with Edison Jackson? And I think I don't want to go through that, but everybody watching knows what happened there. And so
Sure.
how do we make sure that when we have a new president, that they aren't filling their cabinet with bad actors or people
Yeah.
who may not have the school's best interest at heart? And again, we all have PSTD from that. So how do you how can we solve for that, or at least mitigate having bad actors in any facet of the institution?
I hope what continues to happen is the further development of the transparency process, right? So, Stephen, it's like you're in my relationship, right? Like, I don't know what questions you're going to ask me, right? But I can reach out to you, you can reach out to me, right? And so you got to have a leadership that puts their team together, but then you kind of constantly have a sense of check and balance, right? And that you're going back and forth, and you can't have one person that's completely dictatory out there. They need to like have their lieutenants and people that in charge, and then they need to share things with the trustees, and then the trustees need to ask hard questions. But let me dive into that very very carefully. Some people, I'm not saying specific to Cookman, this is a thing in life, want a board of trustees, whether it's at a university or it's at a board of directors for a company, and they want a bunch of yes people, right, that just say yes all the time.
Mhm.
That's one extreme. On the other extreme, you don't want somebody that's going to micromanage and say, what color are you painting the walls or something like that. That's wrong. It's in the middle there that are able to ask hard questions and get answers. Okay. Back to seeing Sugar at Valencia, the only argument I ever had with him is he was due a bonus check and he didn't want to take his bonus check. That's when we fought about that, right? But we also did have some hard conversations and he welcomed the questions. It's always intriguing to me. If somebody asks a hard question and the response is to just get in anger and not answer the question, that's a tell. We have to have a culture where we calmly ask really good questions. And let me just say this: we're going to need to ask some questions like, do we have the right majors? Do we have the right majors? Are we promoting all the right careers that are the highest, best paying jobs? Are we doing that right? Are we engaged with all the right leaders? We need to make sure that we're doing that. So we're going to have to look deep into ourselves, and we're going to have to be prepared to change. It's funny. I predict to you that we're going to look back and we're going to say, boy, those 8 years were really hard years, but we're going to continue to see some real growth that needed to happen that came out of it. It united us in some unique ways. It forced some things to happen, and then we've got to keep pushing it further. When I keep going back to that word of legacy, like living up legacy, right? That's a weighty thing that we're going to work together. So the answer I was trying to get to there is like it's maintaining systems of checks and balances. It's trust but verify, and making sure that we're working together. And you know, um, uh, when I do coaching, and I'm giving a speech about this to some college students in another state in a month or so. One of the things I coach people on is that there's three levels of relationships. There's the acquaintances, where you just met somebody. There's friends, and I always talk about the word that defines friendship is encouragement. Friends tend to encourage each other. And the third level I talk about is brothers and sisters. When you have brothers and sisters, they'll encourage you, but they'll also tell you that you got broccoli in your teeth, or your zipper's down,
Right.
or you got bad breath, or they might say you drink too much, or you're verbally abusive to your girlfriend or your wife. They're going to say the hard things.
Hmm.
And when I talk to young people and I give that speech, they'll all nod and say, I want that. But that's easy to say until someone calls you out,
Yeah.
right? And people aren't going to do it. People are naturally not going to do it. They're going to naturally do it because they care. They don't want to hurt your feelings. They don't care enough. We have to have a culture where we can lovingly say things in a hard way, and then we have to be able to receive it and then take that in and say, gosh, was that a good question? And maybe I do need to work on that. I watched your show and I felt a deep sense of remorse and sadness that I, on the board of trustees, some things happened that were too harsh to alums. It really hit me hard after watching your show. And multiple times I've said that I apologize for that. And I say it because I mean it. I feel it. I need to say it. I need to express it because through listening, I heard and felt it like that I regret how that went, right?
Yep.
And I have felt it on the other side. I think, listen, there's some things that were said about me in social media that was not that nice, and so I've had some people express that, and it's cool. We're good. We went through a hard time together, right? But we have to have a sense of culture where we're able to talk things out in a meaningful way, not attacking, not gossiping, not rumors, but in a loving, kind, confrontational spirit.
Yep, yep. And I think that's how we get through it. And again, I always think you and even some of the other trustees that have acknowledged and even apologized for how alumni had been treated, over the last few years. And I always tell people it wasn't even so much of what they did, not to keep harping on things in the past, but I'll say it again so people can understand like why most of us were pissed off. It wasn't necessarily what they did, it was how they did it. And so again, I still think that the institution has a lot of work in repairing the damage, because there's still a lot of people that is just like they're they're still not, they still don't feel good about how they were treated. And so while I'm okay with an apology, there are some people that are like, they need to show proof, right, that you guys have, you know. And so I think that's incumbent upon the school. I think that's incumbent upon the board, to find a way to honor the people that have held this school up for 125 years. And I think once that day comes, and once those alumni, the ones who are just sitting on the sideline right now, I think once you get those people back into the fold, man, it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be amazing times at Bethune-Cookman. But you
I
know,
agree with you. Well, let me say this real quick, and that is this: is that one of the things I've seen happen in the last 60 days is I have seen people who I think they were lied to about me, and I was lied to about them. And
it's
some of these
possible.
people
Yeah.
who I think we saw, no, that's true. I think some of these people who I think we perceived ourselves as being adversarial
Hmm.
have learned that we're family, and we're both getting fed the wrong information. The other thing I want to point out to you is, remember, these candidates have seen this show or they're going to see this show. I didn't tell them watch this episode of Stephen Holmes show or this episode. I have told them to watch all episodes. And by the way, with our new trustees, I've told them to watch all episodes. And there's episodes where you say some critical things about trustees. I'm taking that. I'm not saying I'm saying I want them to see that. And so with these candidates, they are fully aware of the hard times. And I have the prayer I've had, and when you hear me pray about BCU, the word I use so much, healing. I am praying for a season of healing. And you unacknowledged wounds don't heal. We have to acknowledge the wounds first, and then we can start working on praying for Christ to heal us and provide the healing balm to get there. But I want you to know these candidates are very aware of that. They're not there's no mystery. We've not hidden it and only painted some picture. We
Yep.
have been honest with them about the past.
Well, listen, uh, this has been a good one. Just kind of getting into it. I, we're now, this is kind of a new phase we're in now. And it's like now we have names and faces. And I think that's what most people are kind of waiting on. And so, we just are going to be out here just waiting. I appreciate you coming on and giving us
My
updates.
pleasure.
We'll do it again at some point, I know, in the near future, once we maybe cross the finish line. And I do have some dates with Jeff Branch, and we're working on Pete as well. So hopefully we can schedule that. And everybody can, talk to those people. And I think good days are ahead. I think good days are ahead.
Me too.
Yeah.
Can
John,
you
go ahead.
remind me? I sent you a link. Donate, donate, donate. And if you
Yes.
can't think of a place at Bethune-Cookman, donate and honor my mother, please. And she told me, tell you hello.
Yeah, I
So
will. I will amplify it. And your birthday is Sunday. You said
May May 11th, May 11th,
May
Mother's
11th.
Day is
Mother's
my
Day. Mother's
birthday.
Day.
Yeah, so I'm promoting give in honor of my mother, Bethune-Cookman, for Mother's Day, my birthday. That's
Well,
what I'm
who
doing.
who doesn't love Mama? All right. All
That's
right. Well,
right.
cool. Well, pleasure talking to you, John. And we will do this again soon.
Thank you.
All right.
All
Thanks,
right,
man.
sir. Thank you
All
so
right.
much for having me.
All right. No problem.
Thank you.
So, that was great. Talking with John, and I think he has laid out. I hope y'all were quiet in the comments. Normally y'all are like lighting me up, and I'm trying to keep up, but maybe y'all were just being good students and listening. So I appreciate that. Um, but yeah, the show tonight again was one of the ones that I was excited to be able to get to a point where we can actually talk about the candidates. And so we have them. You'll start to probably see a whole lot more about them. And again, I implore you, if you've been rolling with us, shooting in the gym 7 presidents ago, go and do your research, do your own background on the candidates. I think it's incumbent of all of us, not just the committee, not just the search company. Like, we all have got to like make sure we're looking over people 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 100 times. All right, because I think that's how I think that's how we get to a good leader. And so before we go, listen again. Love tees are on sale. Graduation is in I think next week. They are $35. The link is on Instagram in my bio. If you want to donate, you can go ahead and per usual, you can use our Cash App here at the top and send a donation of $35. I'll let you know I got it, and I'm gonna donate a shirt to a current student. Or if you just want to buy one for yourself, that's cool too. But I am running a little on stock. So if y'all gonna do it, you probably have about a week left, and then they'll be gone. Outside of that, y'all, I think that was good. Again, no comments. Jarrell said we were processing it all. I get that. You're just listening. This is an important night. And so I really did just want to make sure that you guys are equipped with as much information as possible. And obviously there were some avenues we couldn't go down. Like we couldn't talk about each specific candidate, what we liked, what we didn't like, what we disliked, because that would overshadow the search and persuade people. And we just, we don't want to get into that. And also, Dr. Mosley was employed at Cookman back in 2017. I didn't know that. That's good information. And so, yeah, and he also mentioned that I think it was Dr. Coleman Farrell, I think, is the one that had parents that went to Bethune-Cookman. So that's cool. I know, we don't have any alumni, which I'll be honest, a little disappointed we didn't get any alumni in there. But better to have a strong candidate than just to throw an alumni in there just because. So we just want a good president. And what Ms. Tundra said, the same way the board has to send out cease and desist letters, the same way they need to apologize. Amen. They cease and desisted the alumni chapter, like the alumni organization. And yeah, I don't know how you undo or you like uncease and desist. But yeah, they've got some solving of that problem that they need to do. Man, listen, I'm 5 minutes over time. I'm not gonna hold y'all. Thank y'all, man, for tuning in. Thank y'all for watching this episode. I really appreciate y'all for continuing to support the real. And Marcia Alexander says, who ultimately selects the president? I think the board, the actual board of trustees will probably just have a straight up vote on it. And so I imagine that's how that gets solved. Yeah, I'll find out and give you the deets on that, because I'm not sure myself. That's actually a pretty good question. And yeah, I think that's it. I'll see y'all next week. Oh, let me turn this music down. Listen, summer months, I'm out. So from like June 15th to like August 15th, I will be out of here. And then we'll be back start of the school year. So we'll get through May, and then I think we'll get through the presidential search, and then shortly after that, I'm gonna take a hiatus, and we'll crank back up in August. But as for now, we still got work to do. All right, see y'all next time. Peace and hail Wildcats. Love y'all.